What I'm going to do now is start styling my my posh data that I have to the left over here, so it starts resembling my end result. What I forgot to mention when I recorded this video is that I do have a CSS reset attached to my document. So if you're following along and things don't line up exactly the way you think they should, that's because you probably don't have a CSS reset put in. And my reset my reset is from the skeleton framework, or not framework, but it's the skeleton boilerplate, and that's the CSS reset that I'm using. It's very similar to the HTML5 boilerplate reset, but if you want to follow along, it'd probably be a good idea to download the asset or implement your own reset similar to this one. Now, if I look at my HTML, really the first place I'm going to start is the actual container itself, this whole big box. Now let me start with, it seems like I'm going to have to add some padding to it, some margins, a border. Let's get right into it, shall we? I'm looking, and it sees that each one of those elements is going to be an article. So I'm going to take article, and that's what I need to start with. So when I style it, I'm going to start with article, and of course this article has a class, and the class is fbResults. So .fbResults, and that's going to target that element specifically. What's the first thing I need to do? Let me start with let's go for some width. Now, what I've done is I wanted to kind of, my width over here has a maximum width based on what I saw over here, which is about roughly like 630 pixels. But I wanted a little bit of flexibility in that. You see kind of how it kind of goes in with it, but not all the way, because I wanted to maintain some kind of integrity. So I had to set a minimum threshold. So instead of actually defining an explicit width, I'm going to say that the max width is going to be max width will be 630 pixels, and the minimum width needs to be 500 pixels. So it's a small, here we go. It's a small little threshold that I'm playing with, but it has a little bit going on over there. Who knows what kind of elements I'm going to pop in there. You see that my end result has on the right hand side there's a lot of empty space, but you never know. You got to build it with who knows what's going to happen in the future in mind, kind. So okay, so I got that. So let me pop in some other things over here. I added a little bit of margin just to make sure it wasn't totally congested. So I'll add that at the top. Now this margin could potentially be an issue if it interacts with some other elements on the page, but hopefully someone would just think that they'll just give us a sidebar to put our results in, and we kind of get to play with everything in the middle of that sidebar. So there we go. It's just pushing everything away. And let's also put in here, we're going to need a border. So our border, I'm just going to use the shorthand border. I'm going to want a thin border that's solid, and as far as the color, I'm just going to do a gray, which is CCC. And let's see. Okay, I like it. I like it. So what we also need is some consistent padding inside, so these elements aren't totally congested or like right up against the border. So I will put in here just some padding, and I kind of looked at it. I think it was 15 pixels. There we go. I just kind of looked at the screenshot I took of the shared element, and when I kind of like went in there close to see what the distances were, I was getting, yeah, about I guess this is almost 20, but whatever. For, like I said, I'm not going crazy making sure it's exactly the same, just sort of close. So for me, 15 pixels is good, and that looks fine. And now let's see, what else do I need? Oh, I'm going to need to round out these borders a little bit, so nothing too crazy over there. We'll just do the old border radius. I think it was about 4 pixels. Let's see. That looks good so far. These elements are in, like my color text in here is black, so let me just give everything inside of there, any text in there, a color of, we'll do gray. That's exactly, you see it just changed some of those things. I mean, these are links. We're going to have to do something about those links, but we're not going to worry about it right now. And what else? Well, I'll tell you what. So here's what I'm thinking. I know that we're going to have to define a specific height for it. And I'm not necessarily too anxious to do that now. You see, when I did the height, it changed the border. But this other content I have in here overflows beyond that border. And what I'd probably want to do is do one of those overflow hidden. And that'll knock it out and give me the exact height that I want. I chose 230 again just from the example because the height is about 230 there. But okay, you know, I'll leave the height in because I'm going to have to start arranging these elements a little bit, and they're all going to kind of come up anyway. But I'm going to leave overflow hidden out for now. I don't know if I'm going to use it specifically on the FB article, or rather fbResults. I'm just going to leave it out now so I see all the other elements that I have in there so I could style them later on.